We're here to make a new type of news.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Making news just for you. It's May 1st here in Seoul. I'm Shin Yun, and you're watching News Generation. Joining me in the studio is Im Sang-yeol.
Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday, and Kwon Ju-hyun.
Happy to see you today.
Happy morning. Now, both are here to speak on behalf of people in their 20s and 30s. As usual, let's start with our news feed, which covers different hashtags and news items that have been trending on social media over the past 24 hours. Taylor Swift has achieved a remarkable feat in pop history thanks to her latest album, The Tortured Poets Department. The album made a gigantic debut at #1 on the Billboard 200 albums chart on May 4th. This is her 14th album to make it to this chart. Swift is now standing alongside Jay-Z for the most #1s among all solo artists in the nearly 70-year history of the chart. The only other artist with more than her is the Beatles with 19 #1s. And Incheon International Airport has received the highest rating in all criteria used by the government to measure service quality. The Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Transport on Tuesday announced results from last year's evaluation that monitored the speediness and accuracy at 7 of the most popular airports in Korea. This included Gimpo and Jeju airports. Incheon International Airport excelled in all categories, especially speediness, referring to how quickly customers could get by from check-in to departure screening. Adding on to the standoff between officials and doctors, professors working at Seoul National University and Severance Hospital have stopped surgeries and outpatient treatments as of Tuesday. These two hospitals are among the big 5 major hospitals in Seoul, though they will continue treatment for emergency patients or those who have been hospitalized for a while. These professors have decided not to perform any more surgeries or outpatient treatments in protest of the government's decision to push through with its medical reform. Earlier this year, the Yoon administration said it would expand the number of medical school admission slots from next year's academic calendar by 2,000, and the medical community has since condemned the government for making a unilateral and illogical decision without any attempts to hear from those on the front lines, namely doctors. Seoul National University and Severance Hospital are just 2 of the major hospitals that have decided to stop outpatient services. Among the other big 5 hospitals, Asan Medical Center will also stop. As of now, they're aiming to do so from this Friday, so we've been seeing this medical standoff go on for months now, and I'd like to ask our 2 panelists in the studio what they think about this story.
Well, it's quite concerning to see such a significant conflict between the medical professors, and also the government, especially when it affects the patient's care. Recently, my friend went to the DD emergency department and with her daughter who was ill. But the thing is, it took more than 5 hours to see a single doctor. And you can see that doctors, why do they become doctors? They become doctors to cure patients. Right. It's just simple as that. So both parties should find the common ground and work towards these solutions so that the doctors can actually do their jobs.
And hopefully we'll see that, but it doesn't seem to be the case at the moment. We are seeing defiance from both sides, whether it's doctors or the government. Both are very adamant as to not budging. And Sang-yeol, because of that, we are seeing a lot of patients risking their lives or having to delay their surgeries at the moment. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so like you mentioned, we have already discussed this issue several times here in the News Gen. So when it first began, I thought that the government and the Doctors Association would come to a compromising solution, but it seems that the issue and the conflict will unfold for some time now. Now, I do have a friend who recently graduated from the medical school, and he's currently working as a doctor, but he's also participating in the strike, and I don't blame him. He also acknowledged that it is cruel to leave the hospital and turn his eye away from the sick patients, but still, because literally all the medical school graduates and the doctors are participating in the strike, and he told me that if he stepped aside here, then that would be kind of like a betrayal to his colleagues and the peers. Now, he also mentioned that there is a generational gap within the doctors community as well. So the senior doctors and those in the professors of the medical school persuade the students to return to the work site to care for the patients, because these senior doctors are rather free from the government's decision to increase the cap of the medical school, but it's a different story for the junior doctors.
Exactly. The absence of medical professors and junior doctors is not only causing a lot of harm to the patients, but we are seeing fatigue even on the medical front front as well. So hopefully we will see some breakthroughs there, especially as President Yoon met with Lee Jae-myung, the opposition party leader, and they're talking about ways to actually better the medical reform. So hopefully we'll be seeing some breakthroughs soon. Now, in the meantime, we are going to switch gears to our main discussion topic of the day. Today is May 1st, and it's Labor Day in Korea. Though it's not an official public holiday, many banks and commercial institutions close down. Most companies tell their workers to take a day off, but we did not want to miss a single day with our viewers, so we've decided to dedicate our Labor Day to you all. Now, here in the studio, you two are freelancers, so I do think that Labor Day might be a bit different for you because you guys can pick and choose when to rest, right?
Yeah, so because I'm a freelancer, I'm not really familiar with the typical work types like commuting to the same space every day, working from 9 to 6. So when I say like this, my friends around me who are working at a company are a bit jealous of me, but I always stress that if you are a regular worker at a company, that's like wandering inside the lion's cage. Yeah. But if you're a freelancer or if you have a small business of your own, that's same as walking around the savannah, not knowing when you will be attacked by a lion because the competition is just too fierce. Now, definitely there are different pros and cons of these two work types, but I have to admit that the value of labor is the same for both types of jobs. So everyone is working hard to survive in the modern society, and I think we should all give ourselves a pat on the shoulder because we are trying our best to make our ends meet. So in that sense, Labor Day truly has a significance to all job types.
Exactly. It's not referring to just regular full-time workers. We're also including freelancers or contract workers, part-time workers, because Labor Day is about promoting the rights and better infrastructure for workers out there. Now, in light of this day, Chuyeon, could you tell me how you perceive Labor's Day and what you usually would do?
So somebody's having a rest today, right? Yes, today is Labor Day and I'm a freelancer. Since I'm a freelancer, I can choose my work days. But sometimes when I see our workers, including our engineers or producers who are having a day off, I would like to enjoy that privilege one day in the future, maybe. And it's a bit bittersweet to see some workers receiving some gifts during the Seollal or Lunar New Year or Chuseok or Thanksgiving Day in Korea. So I started to give some gifts to my freelance news presenters like them, you know, not from the company, but from myself. And as a freelancer, no work, no money. You know, if I don't work, if I take a day off, that means I won't make any money for that day. So I feel like I should work even, you know, harder on this Labor Day. And you know, there is a saying, study while others play. I think I just made it up, but you know, just to justify my work day. But we are all workers enjoying the benefits from the company.
Exactly. And in light of Labor Day, we would like to actually recap some key traits among youth workers these days. So Sang-yeon, why don't you walk us through some traits?
Yeah, so there are clear distinctions between the MZ workers and the older generation when it comes to the working styles and the preference. So the older generation was opting for sacrifice within the company. They have been pouring their energy and efforts to contribute themselves to the company. But for MZ generation like us, the concept of lifelong workplace has disappeared. Rather, youth these days perceive labor as not a means to make money, but a channel for their own career development. So therefore, if I think about the friends around me, they have the strong desire to do the work that they are willing to do and the jobs they are interested in. The older generation was a bit different. The reason why our fathers worked so hard back in the days was to bring home the bacon and feed the children. So regardless of the job type, they were well satisfied with works as long as it gave them a decent amount of return and award. And MZ generation also highly value office culture when they look for jobs. They pursue work-life balance and a flexible working hour system.
And as we mentioned before a few times on News Gen, we always talked about how there is a generational gap between millennial and Gen Z workers compared to our parents' or grandparents' generation. And Chuyeon, would you like to add on to the list of unique traits that we have?
Of course, of course. Well, MZ generations are generations sensitive to their rights and fairness. That's why we have so many labor disputes these days. They are not afraid to stand up what they believe is right or wrong. And they don't hesitate to report unfair treatment, right? And they prefer flexible relationships over hierarchical ones, even in relations with their seniors or juniors or even their bosses. Back in the days, younger employees were actually unable to voice their opinions, their concerns, and their decisions made by their bosses or seniors. Even in the restaurants, if a boss orders a bowl of sundae-guk or blood sausage in Korea, yes, especially in Korea, the rest of the members, the other employees order the same dish, even though they don't like it. They did not speak up, but these days, the MZ generations, what are they doing? They're eating alone.
Exactly. They're eating alone. They know when to take a stand. And because of this courage, I do think we often have that phenomena of millennials and Gen Z having the courage to easily quit or move jobs. But are there any stats to back this phenomenon up lately?
Yes, definitely. The MZ generation are rather have the tendency and lighthearted when it comes to quitting or switching their jobs. And we do have statistics that back up this trend. So let's take a look at the screen here. So it says here the average work days of the youth when they get into their first company is 1 year and 6.6 months. And this was 0.2 months decrease from the same period of last year. And about 65% of the youth said that they have quit their first job sometimes in the past. Now, the biggest reason for quitting job was due to unsatisfaction in their salaries and the office cultures and the working hours. This means that the youth are willing to quickly switch jobs if the income or the payment or other types of incentives are falling behind their expectations. Now, there is also a newly coined term here, the job hoppers. It refers to those who switch their jobs every 2 to 3 months as if they're shopping for their clothes. And these type of job hoppers go from one company to another quickly.
And because we are seemingly easily quitting, I think the method of resignation seems to be coming easy at hand, right?
That's right. Well, the way they resign is quite different these days. Back in the days, how did they resign? They submit their resignation letters very quietly and they felt guilty at the same time. But these days, not TikTok, but Quit Talk challenge is quite trending among MZ generations. Resigning employees, they post their resigning procedures, what they like about the workplace, pros and cons, why are they resigning, and what will happen to them after resignation. You know what? I'm going to confess something right now. Several months ago, I got sacked. Yes, and I filmed that, all the procedures that I got sacked because of the AI, her named Ari, which is such a beautiful name, by the way. And after a few weeks, she got sacked. The AI Ari Onni got sacked as well, and I also filmed that. I also filmed that video, and 2 videos went viral on my YouTube channel. Why was it? Because people actually relate this story to their experience. They actually, they found out that the story was very authentic and eventually supporting my experience.
I think a lot of people could relate. And as you mentioned, as easy as it seems for millennials and Gen Z to be handing in their resignation letters, nowadays I think companies are well aware of this trend, which is why, as you mentioned, we're easily seeing people being sacked or laid off. So that is another socio-economical phenomenon that we have to keep our eyes on. But then again, the traits that we've mentioned might seem to be accurate, but there's always a spectrum of different workers out there from our generation, and which is exactly why some don't agree to the figure that they will quit their first job a year and a half into the job. And a lot of millennial and Gen Z have been expressing their discontent with wrongful stereotypes against them. I mean, if you've seen a lot of comedic content here in Korea expressed by media, we see that we're wrongfully thought to be irresponsible, or we speak about our needs to the extent that we give a lot of other people damage or harm, but sometimes these biases don't really relate, right?
Right. So if you look on the media, they usually frame the millennials and Gen Z workers in the office as incapable and irresponsible, but I think this is just because usually the new newcomers of the company are really unfamiliar and awkward when it comes to their assignments and tasks. And I have been seeing that if you train these newcomers in the company well, then they really have a strong sense of duty to complete their assignments. So it's not the matter of generation, but it's just a matter of their familiarity with their jobs and works. And as for freelancers, I have no doubt me and my peers are working hard to survive this fierce competition. For example, if I have an interpretation schedule, I usually stay awake all night, like 2 days to 3 days, because I just have so many materials to go through. And I think it's the society that has changed as well in a good way, because the MZ generation is also taking the lead when it comes to changing the office culture in a positive light.
Exactly. Jiyoung, would you like to add on to the unwanted biases associated with our generation?
Of course, we're not working while wearing earbuds.
We're not.
We're not, you know. As Sang mentioned, many people think that MZ generations are irresponsible. But from what I've seen, including myself and people around me, work with, you know, a sense of responsibility. And we understand the importance of responsibility, reliability when we work. And, you know, we are the future. MZ generations are the future, and we are the ones who will lead the economy, so we know what to do.
And it's not just here in Korea where we are seeing these generational gaps or wrongful stereotypes causing conflicts at the workplace. But in light of Labor Day, we asked our global viewers to share their know-how as to better adjusting at the workplace. So if you take a look at the screen, you can find out what 3 of them had to share with us. Let's start with 808 Infantry. Mostly the generational topics in the workplace revolve around the idea of teleworking in the office. Benny said, for me, there were no generational conflicts when I was working, and to the fact that we always serve as one great happy family. Leon said the MZ generation often prioritizes healthy work-life balance, which might conflict with the hustle culture mentality of some older generations. Also, we might be more open to new ideas and tech, while older generations might prefer established methods. So we are seeing a gap in generation, some reasons of conflict at the workplace and other places around the world. But to find out how we can accommodate better to both needs, we're going to include someone who works in HR in our talks to get some know-how and hacks on how to better adjust at the workplace. We're now going to turn to Sarah Park, head of Korea HR at GP. She's been in HR for 15 years now, so she has a good grasp on what type of workers are coming in these days and how companies are trying to accommodate to the demands of younger workers. So welcome, Sarah.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so we already made our own list of unique traits among workers in our generation. What would you like to add on?
Sure. So I'd like to specify that workers from the MG generation are distinctly marked by their adaptability and their tech-savvy nature. They grew up during the tech renaissance. That was a period of time when rapid technological changes happened, which means that they're very comfortable with the digital tools that we see all around us and continuous learning. This adaptability extends to their work environments too. They thrive on flexibility, often seeking work-life integration rather than the 9-to-5 structure that we see in older generations. Another unique trait is that their emphasis on purpose and values, as you guys were mentioning earlier. Many in this generation aren't just looking for a job. They're looking for a sense of contribution and a greater cause. This intrinsic motivation can really drive innovation and a strong commitment to the organization's objectives if used correctly.
Okay, Sarah, then what are some stereotypes that are wrongfully attached to young workers these days?
One common stereotype is that young workers are entitled or lack a strong work ethic. Often, this perception really misunderstands the desire for meaningful work and rapid progression as impatience or dissatisfaction. Instead, we can say that it really reflects on the eagerness to contribute effectively and grow their skills. Another stereotype is that MZers frequently job hop without loyalty, when in reality, this trend often points to a search for positions that really better meet their expectations for career development and personal value alignment, rather than that lack of commitment, like we were saying. Understanding these nuances can really help define how the MG generation is perceived and also how we can really work with that specific type of work ethic.
Interesting. So, Sarah, how can we stop MZO workers from quitting quickly into their jobs?
To maintain MZ generation workers, companies really need to focus on creating a work environment that aligns with the values and expectations of this generation. This includes offering meaningful work that challenges them and allows for growth. Flexibility in work arrangements such as remote work, flexible hours, hybrid working, teleworking, maybe on vacation. This is really crucial to help keep and retain that really great talent. Furthermore, really having regular feedback and a clear path to career advancement can really help increase that job satisfaction and loyalty. It's really about fostering a culture where young workers feel valued and see a future for themselves within the company, engaging them in decision making.
Right, sorry to cut you off. I think you just mentioned great points there. I think our generation was wrongfully tied down to the concept of being lazy or disloyal, but it's not that. It's just the fact that we want to contribute and better progress rapidly, and hopefully that will be an ideal workplace that really aligns with our values. And in light of Labor Day, thank you so much for bringing attention to that.
Of course, thanks for having me.
All right. And ending off on what just Sarah said, I think we need to make an ideal workplace for our generation to be maintaining their posts for a longer time. In order for us to do that, though, what type of changes should we be seeing?
Well, we are not only seeing the generational change, but we are also witnessing the societal change. And in the advanced countries, there are new type of jobs and new type of office incentives giving flexible working hours and giving parental leave. So Korea should also adapt itself to those kind of societal change.
And Trian, would you like to end off?
Yes, of course, we need a work environment where we can develop our own individual creativity. And I hope the company should analyze the characteristics of MZ generations and incorporate them to their marketing strategies. That will be a win-win outcome for both of them.
Exactly, because as Sarah mentioned, we are all about having a better work-life balance. We want to progress rapidly, but at the end of the day, one wrongful bias that I would like to make clear is that it's not that we don't want to do our job or we want to cause trouble. In fact, we want to use our workplace as a better barometer of how far we can go into our future. And as you can see, all of us here, we're here out on Labor Day, contributing, trying to be a better person each day. So hopefully today's episode shed light as to some of the really unstable stereotypes attached to our generation, but also highlighted a middle ground for companies to be on better board. Now, in the meantime, we'll be here every day from 9:30 to 10 a.m. Korea time, bringing you more topics young people are talking about. Special thanks to Im Sang-yeop
Thanks for having me.
and Hun Ju-young.
Thank you so much.
All right, and thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. We are News Generation.